I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
This is the Virtual Real Estate Investor Podcast with Vincent Polisi. Buckle your seatbelt and prepare to learn how to legally make six figures investing in real estate with no money, no credit check, and nothing but a computer and internet connection. Learn how you too can begin generating buyers and sellers for free today, and why you're only 2 calls away from making a $10,000 or more payday while never leaving the comfort of your home. And now, your host, the virtual real estate investor, Vincent Polisi.
All right, guys, today I've got a very special treat for you. This is the 7-step sales process detailed out in about 7 minutes. It's going to take you step by step through each step in the process so that you can, number one, understand what the process is, what each step is, and you can begin to get this memorized and ingrained in all of your sales presentations and interactions with other people to the point that it becomes a natural flow. There is no greater skill set that you can have in business or in life than the ability to professionally communicate, sell, and close. That may seem odd, but you're involved in sales transactions every single day because every time 2 people get together, a sale is made. Either you sell them or they sell you. It could be anything. It could be at the grocery store. It could be at the dry cleaner. It could be anything. People are sold on what somebody wants, what somebody needs every single day in bazillions of interactions. So the faster that you can assimilate and understand what it is that's happening, and that you can then utilize the information that you're about to learn and the information in the subsequent podcast where we detail exhaustively each step and why it's necessary, why it belongs where it is in the sales process, why you must master it, you're going to come head and shoulders, leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only. You think I'm with you? I am not with you.
And now, it's time for Coffees for Closers Only. Listen as Vincent walks you step by step through sales closing techniques, objection handling, pre-qualification questions, the 4 buying personality types, NLP, and everything related to professionally closing sales.
Here is the 7-step sales process. To be able to catch this again, so I would advise writing it down, but if you're listening to this in a car or something, you've got to write this information. You're going to have to learn this information, ingrain this information so that you can walk people through the 7-step process without thinking about it. In other words, you should get to the point that you don't have to think about where you are in the process and, oh, did I skip a step? It has to become natural, has to become your native ability to do that. So step 1, very first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take control and you're going to pre-qualify your prospect or your lead. Why do we do that? Well, I'll go through every one of these steps and tell you exactly why we do it and what it is that you need to do. But the most important thing, the minute you get on the phone with somebody, whatever it is that you're selling, you must take control and you must pre-qualify that prospect. The next thing that you want to do is you want to build rapport. Now, this may seem a little odd. That is the absolute paramount next thing you need to be thinking about as you're going through the phone call or as you're going through your face-to-face presentation with somebody. And building rapport is absolutely paramount in the process. The next thing you're going to do is after you presented the product, you have to be able to what's called feature benefit the product. I'm guessing most of you have never even heard of that before, which is very telling. If you haven't heard of it before, make sure you pay attention when we get into the purpose of the feature benefit and why it's absolutely paramount to the sales process. And once you've done that, then you're going to trial close. And what is the trial close? That's when you're going to basically, there's no other way to say it, you're going to ask for the sale. You're going to ask for the deal. You're going to say, I want the deal. Let's go. Purpose of the trial close is ideally you've already established enough rapport and presented properly and answer all of their questions and they're ready to go. But that would be what we call a lay down. And they come along and they happen. And that's fantastic. And you don't have to hit numbers 6 and 7. You can just stop right there at trial close because that becomes the close. And that's fantastic when that happens. It's easy money. Means you did a fantastic job. You were with a qualified prospect. You went through every step in the process exactly the way that you were supposed to, and you got to skip steps 6 and 7. But the purpose of the trial close is to uncover, discover, ferret out, find, locate these things called objections. And people will object. And a lot of people have a hard time with getting objections because, I mean, they feel like it's negativity or it's, they're being rejected. An objection is not a rejection. In fact, it's the exact opposite. But most people don't understand that. They think that an objection is a rejection, and it's not. In fact, if you understand what an objection is, objection signifies interest. They're not telling you no. They're saying, hey, the price is too low. The price is too high. I don't like the terms. I don't want to close next Friday. Whatever it is, they're objecting to something. And so your job then is to be able to handle whatever that objection is and get past it so that you can get to step 7, the close. And that is where you get the deal. That's where you get them to sign on the line, which is dotted, where you can make money. And this is the process that you have to perfect. You have to memorize this so that you can do it in a consultative approach, in a very professional, conversational approach, so you don't sound like a used car salesman and so you don't sound like a telemarketer reading a script. Has to be a natural flow. That's why we talk about you've got to get educated and you're going to have to practice to the point that you can handle all 7 of these steps without somebody feeling like they're being sold. Let that sink in for a minute. You're going to have to handle all 7 of these steps without someone feeling like they're being sold. The desired goal is for you to have a conversation with somebody and get them to a yes through a conversation for what they perceive to be a conversation that leads to a win-win deal. And if you ever listen to any of the recorded sales calls I do, that's exactly what happens on all the calls that I put up for you. If I get to a close, which most of them, thankfully, I do. And we've got calls up there that are 2 hours that go through this entire process. But you'll never hear me deviate from this exact process right here. This is exactly what it is. It's so ingrained I don't have to think about it anymore. And the only reason I don't have to think about it anymore is because it was memorized. I mastered each step, and then I practiced each step over and over again in practice before being put out on the field to score the winning touchdown. And when I was out there on the field, I got my teeth kicked in a bunch of times and realized where I was making mistakes, what else I needed to educate myself on in practice. And I did that. And I practiced and practiced and practiced. And I'll tell you, the very first time that you professionally sell and close somebody, it's unbelievable elation. I mean, you're like, oh my God, that actually worked. And there's no conflict. It doesn't feel like it's not a win-win deal. Everybody's happy. It's fantastic. And you make money, and you'll make more money by doing it this way.
You've got questions, he's got answers, though you probably won't like them. It's time for Ask Vincent Anything.
Hey, Vince, this is Leon from Connecticut. I have a quick question. So this question is in regards to investment strategies and the many different types of investment strategies that are out there. So I want to ask you, how can a person or an investor determine which strategy to best employ to each seller's particular issue that we're trying to solve? And in doing so, my thinking is that it will also eliminate leaving money on the table.
Leon, this is an absolutely fantastic question, and I'm really glad that you asked it. I want to first start off by saying I'm very, very proud of you for thinking in the terms of 2 things. Number 1, being a full spectrum real estate investor as opposed to a one-trick pony, which so many people are, where they have blinders on and they only can see one type of deal, and so they try to force every deal that comes across their desk into the very same box, and you can't do that. So the good news is that you are absolutely thinking along the right lines. Instead of being the little one-trick pony, you're thinking about, hey, I don't want to miss out on a deal. I don't want to leave money on the table. I want to be able to solve the seller's needs. That to me is huge, the fact that you even were thinking about solving the seller's needs, because in many cases, investors aren't thinking about that at all. All they're thinking about is a paycheck, which to a certain extent is understandable. But as a mentor told me many years ago, the definition of a good deal is it's got to be a good deal for everybody. Otherwise, it's not a good deal. And so I constantly strive to structure good deals that are good deals for everybody that's involved. You'll find that over time you have a lot fewer issues if you actually implement that as your business ideology. So I don't want to say bad news is, because it's not bad news, but the answer to your question is simply this. You're going to have to work continuously to educate yourselves on the different deal structures that are out there, because there are a ton of them. In fact, I just recently did a post on one of the websites that focuses on what I call seeing the deal. You have to be able to see the deal. In other words, an opportunity comes across your desk. It may not be a wholesale deal. It may not be a buy and hold for cash flow. You don't know what it's going to be. It may be contract assignment, it may be master lease out. You don't know what it's going to be, bridge or gap funding. And so your job as a professional investor is to be just that, a professional investor. And that's going to require continual education, continual practice, reaching out to other mentors, getting coaching if it's necessary, until you can get to the point where you're not missing any deals. And, it's, for me, people that see how I operate when I'm working on a real estate deal, if they've heard any of my seller calls, they've heard any of my buyer calls, they get somewhat astounded by all of the different facets of real estate and mortgage banking and taxation and asset protection and wealth preservation that I know. But keep in mind, now I've been doing this stuff for, in one way or another in real estate for more than 25 years. And so I've got years and years and years of experience. Spent 12 years in mortgage banking and financial services and owned a mortgage company. Done, literally hundreds upon hundreds of mortgages nationwide for just about every variant that you can imagine. So I've got that aspect. I was a certified wealth preservation planner. So I've got the background in, financial planning, asset protection, taxation, wealth preservation, you name it. And so it lends itself very well to conversations that I have with people, because I can speak at a very high level. And when I see a deal, it's very easy for me to pick it apart to determine what the opportunities are. And for you, it's going to take time. I mean, it's going to take time, and you're going to have to get educated. Until then, the very best advice I can give to you while you're working on getting that education and experience on your own is to seek out a mentor or sign up for coaching where you have access to someone who can answer those questions for you, who can take a look at a deal. Maybe he's a joint venture partner or something that has a vested interest where he's going to get paid too if you bring him a deal, so he'll analyze it for you. But that's what you're going to need to do until you're adept yourself at analyzing the individual deal for the very best possible structure that maximizes income, that maximizes cash flow, that minimizes and or mitigates risk to the ultimate standpoint that it can, so that you can make money and be very well protected. Now, the great news is we're going to be doing a lot of deal analysis on actual live deals here as part of this podcast. So you're going to get to see exactly how I personally analyze deals of a variety of different types, and you'll get to see the ins and outs, the formulas, the metrics, the different things that I'm analyzing, so that you can start implementing that on your own as well. And this is the perfect time to segue into our next segment, because now we're going to start talking about some of the language that you're going to need to understand so that you can communicate with high-level investors, with professionals on their level, and understand exactly what they're saying.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Don't nobody understand the words that are coming out of your mouth, man.
To be successful in real estate investing, you gotta understand the language. Sit back as Vincent takes you through common real estate investing and business lingo in this episode of Vincent's Vernacular.
We are going real world on a real deal. This was actually a phrase that got presented to a joint venture partner that I've got and a coaching client on a $1.5 million deal in California. And the investor that she was speaking to, the seller, the owner of the property, said the following terminology, which she didn't understand. And as a result, guess what happened? That's it. Nothing. She had to stop the negotiation, stop the conversation at that point, to then call me to find out exactly what it was the woman was referring to. So what was that phrase? What was the terminology that she used? In this particular deal, we were dealing with an owner finance transaction where we were trying to contract and purchase a property utilizing a contract for deed or a grant deed. And the seller told my joint venture partner that she didn't want to carry the paper. And my joint venture partner had no idea what the paper was. So she got stalled. Didn't know how to proceed because she didn't understand what the woman was actually telling her. And at that point, had to stop the conversation, get off the phone. This can be the kiss of death when you're dealing in a transaction like this, because you can actually get these deals closed out with one phone call. And when you're in the middle of a pitch and things are going well, the last thing that you want to have to do is stop the phone call, stop the negotiation to get a definition, because you don't understand what somebody means and you don't want to embarrass yourself by asking them what they're talking about. But in the realm and the world of owner finance contracts or private mortgages, the paper is the owner finance mortgage. It is the private mortgage. That's what the paper is, the note. That's what she's talking about. So when she says, I don't want to carry the paper, what she's saying is, I don't want to be the lender. I want out. I want to sell. I don't want to hold the paper or carry the paper or tote the note. Sometimes you'll hear that also. And so this became an objection that the partner didn't understand, and a stopgap in between us proceeding on that particular deal until I got on the phone and spoke with the woman. And the next cause of action then, of course, was to understand exactly, number one, what her definition of carrying the paper was, and number two, why didn't she want to carry the paper, so that we could then proceed on with the transaction. And it's very important when you're dealing in a situation like this to make sure that you're getting an understanding of what definition the person that's using the term is applying to that terminology, because in many cases somebody will tell you that they don't want to carry the paper, they don't want to hold the note, and oftentimes what you'll find is that they themselves don't even understand what it means. And that's where it's your job as a professional salesperson, as an investor, as a professional negotiator, to educate them so they do understand all of the nuances of exactly what you're talking about doing. And to put this in proper perspective so you understand exactly how this works and what I'm referring to, in this particular situation, the seller was open to selling. The seller was also open to renting or leasing. So she was open to taking and accepting a monthly payment. She was also open to an eventual sale, so it didn't stand to reason that there would be any logic in her not wanting to, quote unquote, carry the paper, because if she had a renter in the property, she was going to be taking payments. If she sold the property, she'd be selling the property. There really wasn't any difference in what we were talking about doing. The eventuality was going to be getting her exactly what she wanted versus having a renter in there that would only prolong and delay an eventual sale, because she couldn't market the property with a renter in there unless she was going to sell to another investor. And so it's imperative when you're talking to people to understand where they're coming from, what definition they're applying, because they're not the experts. They don't understand how owner finance deals or real estate contract structures actually work. And that's how you can make money.
Hey, what's up, investors? John Lee Dumas here, founder and host of Entrepreneur on Fire, awarded Best of iTunes 2013, and you're listening to the Virtual Real Estate Investor Podcast with my man, Vincent Polisi. Prepare to ignite.
And now it's time for No BS with the virtual real estate investor, Vincent Polisi.
And this is where we cut through all the BS and we get you real world information so that you can not waste any time and stop wasting any more money. One of the biggest criticisms that I have gotten from real estate gurus is when I declare and proclaim that you can do all of your marketing and advertising for free, that you can generate buyer leads for free, that you never have to leave the house, that you don't have to put out bandit signs or spend the money on them. And man, those things are expensive. You don't have to do yellow letters. You don't have to do probate lists. You don't have to do door knocking. You don't ever have to leave the house. In fact, all the marketing that you need to do can be done absolutely for free. And I identify exactly how I do it and have done it for the last 8 years on Virtual Real Estate Investor Academy. Now, today's methodology that I'm going to show you for free marketing, I'm going to show you two of them. One of them we actually shot a real-time video of where I placed a Craigslist ad on a $1.7 million property that I've got under contract in Sarasota. And I had a response from a buyer with cash within 21 minutes of that ad going live. Now, you simply can't beat that. A buyer with cash instantly emailing on a property that we've got contracted within 21 minutes of posting a Craigslist ad. How does it get any better than this? I didn't have to leave the house. It took me about, I forget what it was, 10, 15 minutes to put the ad up. And here we are. We've got people chomping at the bait already. And then we got another. 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 So yes, you absolutely can market and advertise for free. Craigslist has unquestionably got to be the very best resource for free marketing for real estate investment deals, bar none. Bar none. I don't care what anybody tells you. It is absolutely fantastic for real estate investment deals. But don't take my word for it. You're an investor. Do your own due diligence. I've got the information up on Virtual Real Estate Investor Academy for free where you can go take a look at it right now and you can vet out whether what I'm telling you is true, correct, and accurate or not. And I highly advise that you go do that. Go take a look at the ad that I put up. Go take a look at how quickly we got a response on that. Craigslist is an absolutely fantastic resource when it comes to real estate investment deals and marketing. People never want to believe the types of leads that we actually generate from Craigslist. In fact, I've got recorded calls of myself with a professional Major League Baseball player on a $1.7 million property and his financial advisor on a property that one of my joint venture partners actually found on Craigslist. Nobody could believe it that a Major League Baseball player would be advertising a $1.7 million house on Craigslist. But he was doing that because guess what wasn't working? The MLS. The MLS was not working for him. And so he did what many other people do, and that was he marketed the property himself on Craigslist. And as a result, he got interested buyers. Now, the second free marketing method that I've defined and have a video on Virtual Real Estate Investor Academy that you can go check out for free is a little known source that we've been using for the last 8 years called Postlets. You can get a Postlets account for free. Why is Postlets good? Because Postlets will allow you to create a graphical ad that you can then copy the code for and paste into, guess where? You guessed it, Craigslist. So you've got a great looking ad in Craigslist, but it takes it a step further. In addition to providing you the code for the Craigslist ad, it puts an ad on Postlets itself, which doesn't seem like that would do a whole lot of good, but it will automatically syndicate that ad out to up to almost 30 other real estate websites, including Google Base, Yahoo Realty, AOL, Zillow, Trulia, and the list goes on. You simply can't beat it, and it's absolutely free. So go check it out. If you don't have a Craigslist account, get one. If you don't have a Postlets account, go get one and then start using these free resources and tools for your internet marketing. Remember, I'm the virtual real estate investor. I like to do everything virtually online. I don't like to do anything physically. No brick and mortar, no local presence. I like everything to be free.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Everybody better sit down and cover their butts, because Vincent's on a rampage. His foot is getting twitchy, and here comes another segment of his world-famous butt meat boot coaching.
All right, I got to forewarn you before we continue with this segment because this is where it gets ultra real. If you've never been part of any of my coaching JVP Facebook groups, listen to any of the other podcasts or webinars or videos or tutorials or anything that I do, let me tell you what's up. Something happened to me a long time ago that I witnessed the same thing that had happened to a lot of other professional investors, and that was simply this. You get to a point where you've heard so much BS and nonsense that you respect your time so much that you just absolutely refuse to waste time. What does that mean? It means you absolutely refuse to sugarcoat anything. You tell it exactly like it is, whether people like it or not. And when it comes to coaching, which I get paid a lot of money to do, sometimes it means you got to kick people in the butt. And that became the impetus for butt meat boot coaching. A lot of people, they're just not moving forward, and they're not going to move forward on their own. Sometimes they need a coach. They need somebody to kick them in the butt and chew them out and tell them how it actually is and get them motivated. And my job as a paid coach is to help them make money in the shortest possible time frame. The only way I can do that sometimes is to kick them forward to get them in gear so that they can actually do that. So if you like sugarcoating and political correctness, this is definitely not the segment for you. If, on the other hand, you like to hear people tell it exactly how it is with no political correctness or sugarcoating, this is exactly what you want. This is one of the reasons why I've got such a rabid following of people, because they know that I'm not going to pull any punches with them. They know that I'm going to tell them exactly how it is. Now, that doesn't mean I'm always right, but they're going to hear the truth. They're going to hear exactly what I think, exactly what I feel, and if you know me well enough, when I say something, I always back it up with documentation. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this segment of Butt Meat Boot Coaching. Many of you that are listening to this have been through a number of the other quote-unquote guru courses on what they call, and I'm going to use the air quotes once again, wholesaling. Unfortunately, they're teaching things that are not accurate, because 99% of the time what they're teaching you to do is not wholesaling. It's actually contract assignments. There's a huge difference between wholesaling and contract assignments. They don't use the same contracts. They don't use the same process. The only similarities between the two are going to be the lead generation methods, which tend to be bandit signs, yellow letters, orange postcards, probate lists, door knocking, but that is where the similarities end. They end with how the lead is generated, because from the point in time the lead is generated, the entire process is completely different. On one side, on wholesaling, you're entering into a purchase and sale agreement with a prospective seller, and then if you're actually wholesaling, the true definition of wholesaling, you then must close on the property, and then you must sell it to another investor. The definition of wholesaling is buying and selling a product to another investor. It is business to business. It is never business to retail customer. A lot of people get this confused because they think that wholesaling means things that it does not. It does not mean that you buy and sell at a discount. That is not wholesaling. Wholesaling is buying a property or a product, closing on it so that you own it and have legal and equitable title, and then selling that to another investor. And the commonality that I use with this so people can understand is simply this, because a lot of people think that if they buy at a discount and they sell at a discount to fair market value, that they're wholesaling. That is not accurate unless they're selling to another investor. The reason that it's not accurate is because the price and the discount have nothing to do with whether or not you're technically and legally wholesaling. If discounts made any difference in the status of whether you wholesaled or retailed, Walmart would be the world's largest wholesaler. They are not. They are the world's largest retailer. Why is that? The reason they're the world's largest retailer is because they sell to the end user. They do not sell to other businesses. For them to be the world's largest wholesaler, they would have to sell all of their products to a business, not to individual customers, the end user. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's carry on with this so that you can understand where I'm headed. There's a massive difference between wholesaling and contract assignments, and it is your job as a professional investor to understand what the difference in the two are. Different contracts, different process, taxed differently, completely different, not the same. Do not call contract assignments wholesaling. It makes you look like an idiot. Professional investors do not call contract assignments wholesaling. It's not wholesaling. It has nothing to do with wholesale. This is one of my big pet peeves because I see people promulgating this urban definition that is 100% inaccurate and totally incorrect, and they sound like idiots. Don't be that person. Help elevate the industry as a whole by utilizing the correct terminology for what it is that you're doing. Part of the problem with this is that these guru courses will teach people to then do things that are completely illegal. They teach people to commit fraud. They teach people to commit false advertising. Don't be that person. Let me give you a few examples of what I'm talking about so you'll understand what's being taught, so you can ensure that you're not acting illegally or not in compliance with the law. First and foremost, if you're putting out bandit signs or sending out yellow letters or postcards or any other advertising that you're doing, and you're declaring that you buy houses, and your intent is not to buy a house, but to get a contract on a property so that you can tie that property up and then market it illegally, which is illegally brokering without a license, to then assign that contract to somebody else who will eventually be the person that closes, that is false advertising. It's also called fraud in the inducement. What does that mean? It means you put out advertising suggesting that you were a buyer, most likely a cash buyer, to then bring in seller leads who wanted to sell for cash. They're under the pretense that you're the actual buyer. You give them a contract, and a lot of times these things will have what are known as weasel clauses in them, where it's a knowingly bogus clause in there that it has to be signed off by your quote-unquote partner, the partner that you don't know, who doesn't exist yet, who hasn't been identified, so that you can, again, get this property tied up and take it off the market to then market it yourself to a rehabber or somebody else that's going to buy it as a legitimate wholesaler. And it's complete and utter fraud. The entire transaction is predicated off of fraud and false advertising. Don't do that. It's illegal. I don't care what they tell you. It's called fraud in the inducement, fraud in the factum, and false advertising. The FTC has a complete definition that I highlighted in one of the articles that I wrote that identifies exactly what this practice is. Do not do it. If you want to be successful as an investor, as a real estate investor, as a virtual real estate investor, it's absolutely paramount that you do things the right way with total transparency so that all parties, everybody knows who's who, everybody knows what the responsibility of the other person is. Otherwise, the entire thing is just a house of cards waiting to come down. And it's all fun and games until the red and blue lights show up and they put the silver bracelets on you. So it's imperative. I don't care what some guru tells you in some course. I don't care how successful he looks in front of the mansion driving the Ferrari. You've got to do your own due diligence. You've got to verify, re-verify, triple check anything and everything that you're told. It's called due diligence. Don't get in the habit of being a little follower, a little bobblehead, sitting there listening to anything that anybody tells you. I tell this to my people all the time. Anything that I tell you, verify it on your own. Don't listen to me. That's not what I'm asking you to do. You'll never hear me say, trust me on this, because I don't want you to trust me. I want you to not trust me and go find out if what I'm telling you is accurate. Validate it on your own. This is the way that you have to be if you're going to be successful in real estate investing, period.
You're listening to the Virtual Real Estate Investor Podcast with Vincent Polisi. Stay tuned for more knowledge bombs and actionable items you can use today to make more money in less time without spending or risking a dime.
right, as promised in episode 000, the objective of this podcast is to get you educated and making money immediately in virtual real estate investing. So, action takers are money makers. What I want you to do to ensure your success is I want you to take action immediately on what I'm about to tell you. And when you do, I'm going to send you the ebook and video for the 10-minute task. What is the 10-minute task? The 10-minute task is what I used back in 2007 to quickly generate more than $40 million in standing inventory, all of which I had contracts on, that then generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in closed transactions, all for free. And all you have to do to get it is take 10 seconds and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it on, whether that's iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, whatever. Take 10 seconds when you get done, give it a 5-star rating, write a great review. Only takes you a few seconds, and then send me a screenshot or email me with your handle on whatever platform you're on so I can see it, and I will email you a link to the video, and I will email you the ebook in a PDF format so that you can actually see it and begin to implement the 10-minute task for yourself and generate properties that you can contract on today that you can then legally market today. I'll even provide you the contract for free. How about that? That you can legally market today, to sell today, to then have money wired into your account today. Yes, it can be done. And in fact, I did a video a year or so ago called 8K Same Day, where I detailed exactly how I have done that numerous times, where I woke up in the morning, I started with nothing, had no buyer, had no seller, had nothing, and ended up that afternoon with $8, $10, $12, $15, $20, $25,000 in wires into my account with the exact same method that I'm going to detail for you in the 10-minute task, and it was all done absolutely for free. No marketing money of any kind. All of the marketing was absolutely free. It was done on Craigslist through the method that I'm going to show you. All of the lead generation was absolutely free, done on Craigslist in the method that I'm going to show you in the 10-minute task. All you have to do is take 10 seconds and subscribe, rate, and review.
Thank you for listening to the Virtual Real Estate Investor Podcast with Vincent Polisi. If you found any value in this podcast, please use our Give to Get method and take a moment to give us a 5-star rating in iTunes and your favorite podcast service so we can keep giving you excellent episodes of real content you can use to profit today.